Hi, Marbs here. This is the brand new Nacon REVOLUTION X Unlimited wireless controller for Xbox. This controller marks what I would consider a new generation of controllers, best described as perhaps an Elite Plus controller. The plus being that it has all the upgrades from the last generation, like the Hall Effect sticks, but the big addition this time around is the LCD screen. We'll talk more about that a little later. So unboxing the Nacon controller, it comes in a white box as you see here, and it is a very interesting box. It does note that the controller is 2.4 gigahertz and Bluetooth wireless. It also is compatible with PC. Now, once you open the box, you get a very, I guess you would call it a chunky case. We'll get into that in a minute. Now, in addition, we get some literature here. We get a copy of Game Pass. We get the Nacon manual. Now, this is a nice visual setup guide. It helps get you up and running quickly. You get a QR code to the product support videos, and you get a warning card reminding you that you really got to upgrade the firmware to use the controller properly. Now, this is an interesting problem because the Nacon app on Windows works fine for updating the controller. However, the Nacon app on the Xbox, I was never successful, and I'm not even sure it really actually supports the upgrading of the firmware of the controller. Now, once we open the case itself, it's a nice case, but when I press down on the case, you can see that it can still activate the sticks, which isn't really great. It's just important to know that and to take that into consideration. Now, part of the reason that this controller case is so big is the fact that it does have both the controller and the charging base in it. So it's kind of an all-in-one package, if you will. You do get a cloth to keep your display clean, some rice paper to protect the controller in transit. We'll get to the controller in a minute. And then we have the 10-foot cord here. It's braided. It does have a Velcro tie on it, and it is USB-C to USB-A. Quality I would rate as above average. Now, the charging base is interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, it has a rubber piece that fits over the top, and it's to protect the charging base during transit, I believe, and the controller from doing any scuffing or damage to the charging base, and perhaps to help prevent the contacts from hitting the charging base. Now, the thing that's also interesting is it has a USB-C connection, and then it has a connection for the dongle here that you can plug into to allow the dongle to be used in such a way that you can plug this in and it can charge and be wireless. So when you're not using the controller, it charges. When you are using the controller, it acts as a pass-through for the wireless. I would say that the labeling up front is discreet. It looks good. I think it's a very minimalistic design, but it looks good. Now, in addition to that, you get what I call the goodie box. Now, the goodie box is nice. However, it is filled with, that's right, weights. And these barbell-shaped devices can be put in the handles of the controller to adjust the weight. It does offer a D-pad with some stippling on the edges, and then these large, what I like to call bumper-shaped stick tops, and the stick tops do a very good job with the grip on both the top and the sides. They're sticky and they work well. In addition, you get two of the regular bumpers, and then underneath that, you have the dongle for the wireless. Now let's move on to the controller itself. The controller is big. If you have big hands, this controller is going to fit your hands really well. It comes with two short, black, concave stick tops, one with the snake logo and one without. In addition, the tops have grip on the sides, but the top of the controller, it doesn't wrap all the way around. The D-pad is micro switches, and the micro switches are very good. This type of D-pad has some stippling on the edges. I found this D-pad setup to be really good. I liked it. And I found it to be, right in line with what I would consider a very, very good design as far as the configuration of the D-pad. Now, the buttons, I think, are one of the stars of the show here because they're a little bit bigger than normal buttons. Now, you do have the display here, and your start and select buttons. Now, when I flip the controller over, I think it's important to notice that some of the plastic is different. Now, it does have a headphone jack with Dolby Atmos support that's built in. On the back, though, we have a couple of different plastic choices. Some of the plastic looks a little cheap. I'm not sure if that's just because of the design or because of the cost-cutting measures to come in at a very good price point. Now, the paddles feel really good. The upper paddles are very nice, micro-switched, and the bottom paddles are too. But I will say, because this controller shape is from a new design from the ground up, it is going to feel a little bit different while you try to get your hand position on these. The bumpers are nice, I gotta say, micro-switched, very well done. They look quite durable and they look like they've got a lot of throw on them. The micro switches on the ABXY button also very good too. Now the buttons here, the extra claw buttons, I don't know. I didn't really feel like those buttons were as nice, but I don't know that a lot of people are going to use those buttons, so that does kind of influence, I suppose, their button decision. It does have a USB-C charging port, obviously. Then you've got the settings for the hair triggers on the back, the setting for the wired, wireless, or Bluetooth mode, and your profiles on the back. So you can set the profiles from the back of the controller, and then you will see the profile color that is assigned to that profile on the single stick. Now, that's another one of my gripes with this controller. Although the power budget's high already because of the included LCD screen, I think it's a missed opportunity of not having both sticks lit and allowing the user to configure the power budget in order to decide how much power and how often he wants to charge the controller and how fancy he wants it to be. Overall, though, one of the things that also kind of bothers me, the seaming on the controller is quite good, but there is a noticeable feel where you can feel that there is no rubber. And I can also tell you that the grip, it doesn't even feel like the same rubber on both sides. Now, let's talk about the next thing, the app that you have to use to manage the controller. Remember in the beginning of this video, I talked about the display screen. Well, that's the one thing that I think is interesting and kind of the elephant in the room. The display screen technology and the interface hasn't come as far as I think people would like it to. And I do think that that's kind of an issue. So you're going to be forced to use the application. Now, overall, I think it's a very solid product. And so far, it's the best of these Elite Plus controllers that I've looked at. I do think, however, that as far as these controllers go, they are still new. The technology is still kind of new to them. And I do think Nacon can tweak this controller a little bit more and make it a little better. So overall, I think the Nacon is a great controller. And I do think, though, it could use a little bit of tweaking. If it got this tweaking, it could go right to the top. But let's be honest, the user interface for the display, I don't know, it still needs some work. It may be streamlined a little bit, and I do think it will get better. But for a first generation effort in this new Elite Plus segment, I gotta say, with the Hall effect sticks, the micro switches, it's a heck of a compelling choice for $199. And while some of you may not want to spend that much, I gotta say, it does offer a lot for what you get. My name is Marbs. Thank you for watching. Now subscribe for me. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now.